I would like to mention the amazing Mr. Tony Disanza with SimplAI, making AI simple.
I think I got this. Right?
Okay, good.
Does this work? Can you hear me? Yep. All right. Good? Okay, good. So, so do I get one of these cups then? Is that what it is? All right, cool. My wife's going to like that. Not that, I mean, I'm drinking coffee today, but anyway. So I'll go through the presentation, but before I did that, so this isn't, even though I haven't been here in years, this isn't the first time I've been in 1 million cups. And the first time I gave a presentation was really for a company that I was working with. Honestly, Susan and I were trying to reminisce about which one it was. And it was either B2C or B2B. And so I didn't think it was a really good use. But after this and what I'm about to talk about, I think this is a really good audience to help discuss what SimplAI does and what is our challenge, which fundamentally is about, it's a pre-Series A company that develops, and I'll go through this in detail, but a artificial intelligence platform. We call it Agentic AI, which now the purpose for this presentation is that over the last month and a half, we've been talking with Gartner, Forrester, IDC, sharing this. We're pre-Series A and trying to get our pitch right? And so that I can talk to venture capitalists, get Series A funding. But before we do that, Series A is going to talk to us about, what's your sales velocity, what are the things. And so the purpose for today is, I've rehashed, and literally this presentation is a few hours old. So bear with me because this is the second time I've seen these slides. The first time was a couple hours ago. All right, let me see. Okay. Yeah, so this is the cover slide, nothing more than that. But what I said was, it's an agentic AI platform. Artificial intelligence, as you know, is pervasive in the lexicon today. And the audience is figuring out there are a lot of people that are technical, that get it, that use it. You probably have it on your phone, or it's been integrated with a lot of different tools. But where we're taking it, and where a lot of industries taking it, is to the business marketplace, utilizing it to improve business. Okay, so so I tried to structure this. Eric had a really great presentation on LinkedIn, and about 6 slides, 6 minutes, right? So we got 7 slides or 8 slides. Actually, one I'm going to skip over because it was a product demo, but this is where it goes. So I think I've already used 2 of those 6 minutes, so I'm going to go quick. No, but what are we trying to solve, right? What is the issue? Is, that most of the time in many industries, many businesses you have today, there's some inefficiencies. And the fact that there is a tool or there is a technology that could help improve efficiencies. Reduce mundane and repetitive tasks is one thing. That you spend 3 hours or more or less on creative work. But a lot of people don't do a lot of creative work. A lot of people do administrative work that could be potentially, improved upon. At 76, spend less than 3 hours to work on strategic thinking, but at the end of the day, that's at the management level and above. All right.
Use the arrow to the right.
The arrow to the right.
Yeah, on the keyboard.
There's the keyboard.
Note that I
All right, here we go. Sorry, I didn't see the keyboard. Okay, so what's the market size, right? The TAM, the SAM, and the SOM, which is Eric's points on LinkedIn today, right? There's overall AI market is approximately $1.1 trillion. The service addressable market in services, about 400 billion. And, the service obtainable market, where we can potentially get work, is approximately $200 billion worth. 1 billion knowledge workers, okay? So that's technology, and that's the market size. But really, again, artificial intelligence is a very broad term, and there are a lot of things that we can do with it. But what is actually SimplAI, right? So our solution is a platform. Think of it similarly as everybody use Microsoft Windows, right? Or Apple iOS, right? So that's your foundation for applications to go on top of. Well, think of that SimplAI is a agentic automation platform for people to use to build solutions to integrate with their current systems, but also improve on manual processes. I'm old enough, and some of you I think are probably in that realm when you heard client server 30 years ago, where we were moving off the mainframe and going to client server, and then realizing that client server meant that you had to have very big terminals, PCs, right? And so then they went back to SaaS, or software as a service, where again you had back-end application, back-end servers. And so this is the next generation, which again is you need compute power, which we're not involved in. We're going to use AWS, Azure, and please, if I'm going too technical, the intent of this presentation is speaking to people in business that may not know, about this type of solution, right? So you've heard about Agentic AI, but if you're in a corporation and you have Salesforce, you have Workday, you have, custom applications, and you need to integrate it, you need to improve the process. That's what we're building. Now, there are several other competitors in the marketplace for that, and I actually have a competitor slide, but our vision is to transform workplaces into ecosystems of creativity and strategic thinking, and democratize the type of decision-making and unlocking human productivity. That's the vision, and that's a very broad term, but how we will do that is building a platform to support artificial intelligence applications. And that's, when I say applications, or the agents. So you're building this wholly standalone product that can interact with your data, with trying to figure out what you're trying to do. Right now, we verticalized this to the banking and financial services industry, and we're building things like credit analyst agent that helps the actual chief credit officer or credit officer make better decisions. So what we've built here, you've heard about a lot of these, and I know maybe many of you may not know what those pictures are, but obviously, probably people know that that's Microsoft Azure. This is Gemini from Google, Meta, ChatGPT or OpenAI, Llama from, it's part of Meta, and Cohere. So those are the large language models. Those are the ones that start with building up the platform. We're working with that. And so our platform is integrating all these different solutions. And if you want to do a technical deep dive, we can do that, but not today. Today is just really introducing that we do have this solution that we've built out. We have competitors in the marketplace that are getting much more notoriety or publicity. And so, my goal here is to start evangelizing the product and get people to build the product or trial the product. So we have a business model. So we just released some new pricing, the SimplAI Cloud. So you don't need to have a subscription to Azure or AWS or so forth. And it has a monthly subscription, where it could start out at free to working with enterprises. We have a starter, which is $99 a month, that gives you a certain amount of credits, okay? Credits are the way that you consume processing power, which, most AI is all about that. And that's probably the most scary thing. Think of, back in the day when we had cell phones and you like to send text messages, and next thing you know, you got your monthly bill and you're like, I sent 1,000. My son sent 1,000 text messages, right? And it's like, what? And I had to shut that off. But that's the same kind of case, is mitigating that and managing processing, because each agent, each call consumes credits. We can also work with your own cloud. Sorry, this that doesn't look that great, but it converted from PowerPoint. I apologize. We can work with your cloud provider, and we have 3 pricing models there. Professional services, or we're also evangelizing and trying to get more service providers or systems integrators to use our solution to build applications. Also, product support and a license for the software, the platform. All right, so how are we going to market? Our initial execution is we're focused on 3 markets: United States, India, and UAE. UAE's a little bit more of a opportunistic thing. We've had some people involved that have approached us. Europe will be the next. Second is, so those are our key markets. But what are we going to sell them? What are we going to show them, right? We build so it's like if you build it, they will come kind of concept. I mean, if you put out a platform and nothing's built on it, does it exist, right? So we're building out applications or agents that work. And we are first focusing on banking, financial services, and then we'll eventually evolve into healthcare, technology, and several other organizations, legal. What we're learning is from the adoption and meeting with Gartner and several other places, banking financial services is making the largest investment in artificial intelligence. And depending on who you look at, it's either going to be government or it's healthcare, life sciences. Government seems to be both at the federal level and at the state level. I'm starting to see some traction there. And what they're focusing on, those industries are focusing on is, building out applications to, one, integrate with the current systems to get better data and make decisions, but also improve that. They're not talking about necessarily replacing people, which is the big buzzword. Artificial intelligence is going to replace people, but it's really more of, I got people, I got investments, and things don't work sometimes, or they're making bad decisions. How can artificial intelligence help them? That's why we're focusing first on banking financial services. So that should be my 6 minutes. Like I said, I have a product demo. If you are interested in artificial intelligence, if you're interested in SimplAI, there's several things. We can give you a demo. What I could use, of course, is this was, like I said, a dress rehearsal for me, and I hope this worked. Yeah, I got questions. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we bought into something a year ago because I saw AI in the freaking 90s. This is nothing to it. It's horsepower now to actually run it. And so my problem is, we're taking a demo every week. We're actually buying a tool. A good example is we bought a voice tool, fascinating thing. It made 5,000 phone calls in 5 minutes, and the phone company turned off our phones. And
This goes back to the credit situation, right?
No, they said you're not allowed to make 5,000 phone calls in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so they just turned our phone off. We got to turn back on. That was a good thing. So we're actually taking a demo every week. We had one yesterday on a fascinating product. And so I'll just be brutal with you. I have no clue what you're doing. I understand the voice AI stuff. I understand the interactive text, email, those kind of pieces. But I don't understand, because that's what we're going to buy. It's a productivity issue. I'm going to take 6 people, and they're going to do the work of 600 people. You could do it. This stuff is that freaking good right now. So I don't understand where your stuff plays.
Okay. That actually was a comment we got from one of the analysts as well, and why I'm trying to change this presentation about that and trying to get to 6 minutes. But, and I think we have 2 different audiences. I have 2 different audiences. I have a technical audience and a business audience. And, I look at the business audience, I look at everybody out here as the business audience, meaning you want to know how I can help you solve your problems, right? Like you said, which is, and if I looked at this from the perspective of banking financial services, I would have said, here's how I could help you. What we're finding is a 90% improvement in credit checks or approval. The quality of data that we're collecting or running through the process is improved by 50%. Different things like that. And again, part of this was me structuring the presentation. Thank you for that. And that, the other comment was, where have you done this before and how has it been done? But I realized again, this was 6 minutes, so.
To his point, I tuned back in when you started, like you went through TAM and SOM, but I really tuned back in when you started. So to his point, the first question, so you went through TAM, but I really tuned back in when you mentioned you help loan officers make better decisions. So that ties into just less vernacular
Yeah.
and then also ROI.
You know, back in the day, a few years ago, I worked for a company and trying to sell Salesforce. Is everybody familiar with Salesforce or CRM, right? And part of this was, you know, the art of the possible. You know, what is possible? And, you know, I thought about, you know, do I do that here? Or do I address some of the things that, you know, were brought up on the slide? I think going forward, this is the second time now in a couple of weeks I've heard some of those points, and I'm going to change it for that.
Great presentation. Question, can you have one slide and 60-second elevator pitch? Can you give that?
Can I? Yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
Do I have it now? No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will.
That's what you need.
Yes.
When you go to investors, you will be shooting for investors.
Yeah.
You have to have one slide and 60-second elevator pitch. That's it. Wow. Can I have lunch with you tomorrow?
Yeah, this is the first time, you know, all my career, my background is in IT services, and this is the first time I'm a product marketer.
Yeah.
And
They don't care.
yeah, I know.
You want their money,
Yeah.
and they are holding their wallet. You have to create a wow. I can't believe this one.
Right.
You have to create a FOMO, fear of missing out, and they will sign it. That's what it will be needed. If you need, I can help you out. We will meet separate. Okay?
I like that.
Thank you.
FOMO.
And back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a comment and a question. I watched a podcast with Canon Copiers, and they almost dumped their UiPath project until AI came on. So it looked like your project was somewhat similar to UiPath in that you're integrating more AI in the agents as opposed to just straight algorithms. And then my question was, is your model you're charging by the AI token consumed, and then perhaps other units of use?
Yeah. That's the thing that, and I was talking about credits. Credits are a very vague term that, you know, we partly use, and I can, you know, it's too complex for even me to comprehend. I'm the business guy, and it's of usages consumed based upon, you know, either our hyperscaler that we use, which is Microsoft Azure, or something else. And then it's a profit on top of that.
When I hear justification for a service saying we're going to help make better decisions, it's very obscure, kind of undefined. What's a better decision? Can you create some concrete examples of where a specific persona was making a specific bad decision and where your service can correct that? Yeah,
those were the case studies that I didn't get to. Those are the ones that, you know, specifically I got the feedback on. I have them in the bigger pitch deck, which is typically 30 minutes in length. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask, do you have any traction already? Do you have any customers? Any?
We have 6 customers right now. There's a really cool B2B travel agency or travel experience. They have some really cool experiences that you can do, and they're using AI for that. They're not live in production. They've been working with us, and they're about to go live. We have a couple more, and our goal is and my goal is really two realms. One is obviously getting more customers, but also getting more systems integrators that will use our tool to get more customers.
Perfect.
Hey, I think it's a beautiful idea. My question is, my understanding it's going to go through APIs, and my question is not technical. I'm interested in the cost structure. Can you go to the slide where it says the subscription model is $30 to, yeah, that right there. How did you calculate this, the average cost from 30 to, I guess it's 100K is enterprise cost, right? How did you calculate this?
So that's a very broad term, and like I said, how this slide, I probably wouldn't put those numbers there now. And the reason for it is because it's a very broad term. First thing I would tell you is if you're going to structure a project, before you structure a project, and this goes back to your point about the dialers, I'd start with looking at what can I do a proof of concept on, what is small, what's going to cost me less than $30,000 to do, and that doesn't matter whether it's using our cloud or your own, and validate that you realize the benefits with this small proof of concept so that you can take it longer. Because when I see this, that means then, if I'm a smaller company, I can't afford to spend $500,000, on an engagement, right? And that's not the proof of concept. I want to see something that's going to generate either additional revenue, improved customer satisfaction, or better decision making and improved productivity, right? Those three things will allow me to basically pay for itself.
Hey, I appreciate you just getting up here and working through it and moving forward. Is there a way you can give a simple story, even though you don't have a lot of clients yet, that this is their problem, this is what we did, and this is the results, even if it's what you're dreaming of for a customer? Is there a way to do that?
Right. Yes, I do. It's kind of funny that although I say we're verticalizing and focusing on banking financial services, one real case study is with a company called Lawyered, LAWYERED.com. And it's a legal process. And the agents really basically improved the productivity of a lot of the document generation. So, part of this, with DocuSign, you can fill out complex things. But the one thing that AI does a very great job of is summarizing content and also producing content for you to basically pre-fill, okay? And instead of generating and spending hours upon hours generating new legal documents, they can pre-fill all the content, based upon, the customers that they have and generate, and it saved them, and I have the numbers, I apologize, I don't have the case studies memorized, but saved them at least 50 to 70% productivity because of using AI for that.
So I was going to say, I think it's awesome. I think most people put a question into AI, they get out a list, and they just take it. To me, that's not creative at all. I think your key will be creativity and give an example of what that creativity piece is. Mm-hmm. I think we have less creative people than we have before because people are thinking, well, AI is my creativity. So creativity, to me, is what I'm not hearing from any AI company. Also, have you ever heard the number that 1% of Google users actually know how to use Google the way it was meant to be? Frances Haugen, the whistleblower from
No, I never heard
Meta,
that.
she said, and I'm one of those 1%. And I didn't know that until I had read that book. But so often people put something in, but if you can give examples of, because I think the other thing is you're going to have to get if you can show how you can take your employees and put them in a room with no technology and put whiteboards up and say, what do you want to have happen? And then you take that and you run your model. That's what people want to see. I think that's what people want to see. And I'd buy it.
It's okay, I'm taking notes, right?
Yes.
All right. I apologize when I look down. Got to make sure I.
Bob asked you an excellent question. You didn't answer that question. That's what you have to answer to the investors. He asked, tell me in simplest way what problem you are solving, and give the answer. Most of the time, especially Series A, you are going for. I'm surprised at that. You need to have one slide and 1 minute elevator pitch nailed down, and you have to articulate that very, very well. That's it, not go too far. And you put the guardrail there. That's what it takes, okay? You have the information, but you are stumbling all over the place. They don't have patience. They have 10 seconds, they made a decision already about you and your business. And they have 180 seconds, 3 minutes maximum, whether they put money or not. That's what the business is all about. It's not that easy to get the Series A. You have to have ARR, annual recurring revenue. You have to have your product market fit. All that should be done before you go for Series A. And then you have to be able to present it. It's you. They are investing in you. So you have to prepare for it, okay? So if you need any help, I will spend some time with you. Thank you.
All right, last question. Yep.
Sure, I was just wondering, what's your team comp look like? What's your, are you local? Are you
I'm the only
working with-
person in the United States. Everybody else is in India.
Are you local? Are you founded?
Yeah, I'm here in Apopka. Here. I'm in Apopka, which is why I presented here first, because I've presented in the past, and I felt safe.
Perfect. All right, so that's our time. So get with Tony after if you have any other questions or suggestions. And what I heard here too is when you, especially with this, start with a story
Yeah.
or questions
I
that
am
will
gonna do that.
engage. Right? Have you ever, boom?
No, can you imagine what? I love the art of the possible. Can you imagine if you can do this? What would it take? You know, what would this look like? And again, if you know, put yourself in the stage that you're in banking, and I focus on that versus just pick something.
Right. Yeah. Where
But
either art of possible.
I really am taking your points. Very valid.
Yeah. Well, Sean's somebody you definitely want.
I don't want
spend
to
time with.
stumble through much.
So, as a member and presenter here now, what can we, as the Orlando 1 Million Cups community, do to help you get to your next level?
Well, what I would love to do is redo my presentation and present it in a few weeks, you know, and revise it and make sure that it's the case, because I'm going to have to be giving this presentation a lot, and I want to tighten it up, right? So, and I don't want to go to market with something that, you know, like I said, I've been hearing this for the last few weeks, and it's you know, I trying to make this a little bit better, trying to focus on, you know, where the pricing is, but I didn't move the case studies in. I was really trying to focus on a structure that, you know, is a little bit different.
All right. Well, thank you for contributing and sharing.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Very interesting stuff. Mr. Peter Kuria, come down here, please. For those of you who don't know, Peter is the person and the company that supplies the coffee that we get to enjoy here every week with Solai coffee. And so we want to learn a little bit more about Peter and what he does. So, take that.
You did really mean putting people on the spot.
That's exactly right. See, if you were here earlier, I would have given you some questions beforehand.
Okay.
But I didn't. So tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what, you know, kind of what's your background, what got you into the coffee business.
Okay, my name is Peter Kuria. I am a farmer, second-generation farmer, born and raised in Kenya. My parents are still farming coffee. They've been doing it for 43 years. And I started Solai Coffee as an import company based here in Orlando, Florida, which is a link to the consumers of coffee in the US and the producers of coffee in Kenya. So we have a direct trade business. And you asked why I got into coffee.
Yeah, what got you into it?
It's fate. I was born and my dad was already farming coffee. Exactly. But I'm in the business by choice.
And how long have you been doing this, and what kind of corporate structure do you have?
So this is our third year since we started importing coffee, and we have an LLC that is registered here in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, but we distribute coffee across the 50 states.
All right. And is it just you, or do you have employees? Kind of what's your corporate structure look like?
I have a business partner who is based in Minnesota, so he pulls some load over in the Midwest. And I also have 5 employees and 2 volunteers and a mentor, Shan.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. And so what's kind of walk everybody here through, like the kind of initial process of plucking the beans off the plants to getting it to here.
Okay, so I usually compare coffee to 2 products that we all know of, oil and gold. Those 2 products take a lot to get to end of a product that can be usable. Coffee is the same. You plant the seed, you wait for 3.5 years to get your first harvest, and then that tree gives you an average of 7 years before it starts deteriorating, which means that you have to replenish it, like cut it and allow it to regrow so that it can give you coffee for long. So when you look at coffee, it's a business that involves a lot of people. You cannot do it alone, even if you try to mechanize it, like we see with the big estates like in Brazil. So it still has a lot of human element, which means you have to pull the community together. So it's a community-based product. And once you plant the coffee, it's a seed. So people say it's a bean, but it's actually a fruit which has a seed. And the seed is what we harvest from a cherry. We remove the outer skin, just like we eat the mango. There is an inner skin, right? There is a seed inside the mango. So that is dried, and then it's hulled now to expose the seed, which we now roast. And the roasting process is a caramelization process where you are that's where the science comes in. You're bringing all the different components of what the bean can offer. So you hear people saying this bean or this coffee from Guatemala tastes this way versus African coffees. Roasting is a very important aspect. From light roast to dark roast, you're going to experience a spectrum of different things because of the heat and the sugars that are in the coffee.
And which one of those 3 roasts has kind of explained light, medium, dark as far as caffeine content and flavor?
Okay, so that's a good question because people.
I know you educated me well.
So when it comes to caffeine, coffee produces caffeine. The coffee plant produces caffeine as a way of repelling against pests. So we have 2 main varieties of coffee, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is grown at very high altitudes, very difficult to grow, low yield, high quality. That's what we farm in Kenya. And then we have Robusta that grows in lower altitude areas and produces a lot of caffeine. So you get more yield because it's not prone to pests and diseases. Robusta has double the content of caffeine versus Arabica. So when it comes to roasting, there are 2 components that come into play. A lot of us just brew coffee by, scooping and putting it in your drip coffee maker, and that is it, right? But if you're using the scale, it doesn't matter whether you are brewing a light roast or a dark roast, the caffeine content is going to be the same so long as the mass remains the same. The more you roast coffee, the more you lose the moisture content in the bean. So if I was to take like this cup and fill it with light roast and the same size cup with a medium to dark or a dark roast, the weight is going to be different. The darker roast is going to be, has lesser mass, so it's lighter. So if you are to brew that cup the same way, you're going to get more caffeine content from the lighter roasts than the dark roast because you had more mass in the smaller cup. So caffeine doesn't matter. What matters is the mass. But the lighter roasts have more elements of the farm versus the dark roast. The more you roast coffee, the more you lose the elements of the farm, but you start introducing new components of like chocolates and oils, so you get that body. But they say the lighter roasts are more earthy. The medium is, a combination of the work of the farmer and the work of the roaster.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Me, I think of it like cooking a steak, rare to well done.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is it that gets you up out of bed every day to go do what you're doing?
Purpose. I feel I got into coffee, and my dad or my parents involved us a lot in the business. When I was young, it was a chore. As I grew older, it became part of my success. Because my parents would ask me, do you want to go to the farm or you want to stay home? The answer would be followed by, if you stay home, then you're not going to school in January. So that's when I understood that I really need to work the farm so that I can create a future. That is the same story for a lot of people or a lot of children who are raised by coffee producers or any other farmers. We struggled a lot. And I didn't understand how much coffee costs until I came to the US in the cup. So Kenya consumes a lot of tea. We don't drink coffee. Funny enough, we produce the best coffee in the world, but we drink mostly Nescafe and Nestle. So when I came here and I saw the difference in price, that's when I knew that we are struggling for no reason. Then I started identifying where the leak was, and I realized it was in the value chain. The people in between make the most money, and that's why our parents are forcing us out of the farm so that we can get better jobs and not come back to the farm, versus advising us to go to college and do courses or study things that are going to help them come back to the farm and modernize the way we farm. So my purpose is helping people in these communities, specifically starting with my community, Solai, so that they can get direct business that gives them a fair share of what they produce. That way they can be able to reinvest back to the farms, reinvest in the community, and at the same time create job opportunities and increase livelihood, better livelihood in the communities. Yeah. So I wake up every day thinking about those people who are working at the farm, do not have an avenue to create generational wealth for their families, because the average age of a coffee farmer right now is 65 years. And the kids, if they come back, they're taking into their retirements of their parents. But if we have an ideal market, everybody can be able to make money at the farm, continue farming, increase the yields, because at this point, we are at risk of losing this product. Yeah, that's why you see the prices going up, because the supply is going low and the demand is higher. Right. Yeah.
And just so you know, Peter, his family, they work with how many farmers around?
Right now we are working with 3 farmers. We have an association. All we need is to get an outlet. So we have access to about 600 metric tons of coffee, which means like 25-foot containers just from my community.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you ship the beans over, are you shipping the whole cherry, or have you stripped that down and you're just shipping the seed?
They only allow you to ship the seed.
Okay.
Yeah. You cannot import it in a way that it can come and regrow here. Okay. Yeah. So we import the seed, and then that seed is the one that we distribute and roast locally here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That was my next question.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us what's your ideal client? Who are you trying to work with or get into right now to distribute and sell your coffee?
So we usually work backwards. We are looking for people who understand our mission and want to integrate with our mission. We are an impact-based business, so we don't only sell coffee, we also sell mission. So helping the local community in terms of schools, providing basic essentials to schools. So we look for businesses that really understand what we are doing for the community, not specifically us. As much as we are in business, we want for them to realize that our prices are based on cost of production and what it takes to run a business sustainably. So local roasters, big, small, we have enough coffee here. And if we don't have it here, we have a lot of access to coffee in Kenya. Coffee shops too, because we roast coffee. So if you go to your favorite local coffee shop, ask them whether they know where their coffee comes from. Most of the time they do not. They will tell you they bought from this importer and it's Kenyan, but they don't know the place or the people who farm it. And you can tell them, I have a secret for you. I know a guy who is a farmer, runs a business, and also helps the community.
That's perfect. Now, are you working primarily locally in Florida, or are you national? Kind of, where's your territory right now?
I am national. I get calls from all countries, not just the US. And it depends. If someone is calling me from Dubai or UAE, I will refer them to the other side of the business because it's easier for the coffee to come directly from Kenya. So we work with anybody, but primarily my business here in Florida focuses on the US and Canada.
Okay, that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions?
Why the name and what does it mean?
So Solai is the village where I was born and raised, and when I was at a decent age of curiosity, I asked my dad, what does Solai really mean? And he told me in our native language, it means a place of many trees. I forgot about that until I was looking for a name for the brand. And I remembered my dad mentioned a place of many trees. What does it do? It gives you joy. It's a place you go to rejuvenate when you're taking your hike. And I was like, what does coffee do? Coffee brings us joy. So when I went to Google and I Googled Solai, I saw that in the English dictionary, it means the goddess of joy. In India, it means blossom, or that season of blossoming. So I was like, a name that brings joy and pays homage to my community where I was born and raised. And that's how we ended up with Solai. Yeah.
Sean,
I know Peter and his wife, amazing. They're very well educated, by the way. Okay, they get a full-time job in India, they want to teach. I know their parents also. Coffee is a very, very tough business. When you put in the seed, by the time I drink it, it has to go through 16 different steps. It takes 3 to 7 years. Think for a minute. Right? So it's a very complex thing. Every touch point is a risk. This business is to managing risk profitably, so that his parents can have a lot of money there. That's his job. So they can grow as much coffee as you want. They can grow his ability to make sure they can get a lot of return for that. That's what I decide to do. So I'm sorting the business model, purposely cutting down all the risks and coming up with a way to get this. We have a lot of good ideas. We'll share with you in the next couple of months. You're going to notice he is supposed to work for what we call a mission. Vision is clear. His North Star is clear. We're working on it almost every way on that. So I think we can make it happen so that we can get an amazing coffee the way you want to, when you want to, where you want to. Can do it.
Perfect.
Any growth projection, how fast you want to grow, where you want to grow into? Or is it just one-man show right now?
With the resources, first I wanted to focus on creating a foundation of impact because I didn't want to grow too fast and lose the meaning of coffee, like many businesses do, right? And I don't blame them. So creating the organization back in Kenya was a way of us knowing that we can get the volumes that we need. If we were approached by, let's say, for example, Starbucks, and say, we need 5 containers. Can you get them to me next year? So we already have farmers that are farming together so that we can create consistency. But every year we try to bring about 15,000 metric tons. That's what we are kind of pushing right now, and creating the teams slowly to expand as we go. The biggest challenge we have is that Kenya, being the best coffee in the world, our government hasn't really marketed it well. So that burden lies on our shoulders.
You know, another big problem is, we talked about this the last time, you know, that your own people are not drinking coffee, they're drinking tea.
Mm-hmm.
It starts there, you know. I mean, you have to believe in your beer and your wine or whatever you produce.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the world can, you know, look up to and say, yeah, those guys are doing it, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
I think that's another big challenge.
Since we last spoke, it's really improved. I just had a friend call me and tell me everywhere I go, is it a car wash, a salon, there's an espresso machine. So that's a good sign.
Yep.
Yeah.
I lived in West Africa for 3 years, so I compliment you on the ability, because I know how challenging Africa is. The good news about people not drinking coffee is that it's kind of under the radar as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you get into a situation like Mexico has the avocados,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Traficantes take over the avocado trade. So I know that you're doing a great job. Congratulations. Are you teamed with any big university, anybody? Do you have any backing? Because I know that my daughter goes to Brown, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a university, it's also a safety factor for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people start realizing that you're doing so well, you then have to worry about your crops and keeping them safe and all of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, so right now the big organizations that we have teamed up with are nonprofits that are actually helping us with the community-based projects. I'm in conversations with Texas A&M that just launched a coffee research institute in the US to help South America and Africans. So we are in conversations. They are focusing right now on South America, but they said once they are ready, they want to help the farmers in Africa, specifically Kenya and Rwanda.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just wanted to know, at 15, I think you said 15 million metric tons, what kind of like net would you get, or gross profit or revenue would that create if you get that number?
I think I meant access to the coffee that we have access to. It's 600 metric tons. So the margins actually very different based on where you are in the value chain. If I'm selling the coffee to a grain reseller, someone who is going to, we call the seeds grain beans. So if I'm selling it to a grain bean reseller, the profit margins are usually between 15 and 30%. When I go to the roaster, the profit margin is about 30 to 45. When we put the coffee in the packages, that's where you see the growth. But at the same time, it's a very small margin business because of the overhead. Yeah. Because, like Sean said, there is a lot of risk involved. Yeah, with every touch point. Yeah.
Okay, so last couple questions. So if you could give your past self a piece of advice today with what you know, what would you tell yourself back then?
I would tell myself that I shouldn't have procrastinated too long to start this business, and especially on the farming side. I spent about 10 years in corporate doing software development, and I learned a lot of business. And I think I should have taken my experience and started advising my parents to run the business, the farming as a business. Like, we kind of started that late so that we can understand the cost of production. So procrastination, that was my my biggest downfall, I would say. If I had started this in 2017 versus 2021 after COVID, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what can we as the First Orlando 1 Million Cups community do to help you?
Okay, so the easiest thing first is because you guys get to taste the coffee and experience it. We do not have a local shop, so a lot of people depend on other people who we can connect with physically at the farmers markets at 1 million cups. So if you guys can review us on Google, that really helps. And the second thing is when you visit that local coffee shop, you never know. They might be looking for Kenyan coffee, but Kenyan coffee is almost like a secret. People don't know who are selling it. Even the big importers, most of the time, they are just trading against each other because they don't have access to it. Majority of it goes to Europe. So tell them that you know a guy who is a farmer, who has a story and has lived the story. And one bonus that we are giving to coffee shops is coming out and giving them a 1-hour class, talking about coffee production, what it takes, and how to enjoy your coffee, thinking about the farmers. Yeah, just like wine, you know, when you visit those, yes, and you experience the wine, it hits different, right? Yeah. Solai coffee, S-O-L-A-I, and coffee.
And there's a QR code next to the donuts that will take you to his review page.
Yes.
Perfect.
And I actually wrote, please, 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 because a lot of people, it means a lot. A lot of people don't experience Kenyan coffee. I do events and I ask, the first question I ask is, do you know where your coffee comes from? And 9 out of 10, they don't. The second thing is, have you ever tried Kenyan coffee? They're like, Kenya? Where is Kenya? You know? So you guys have experienced Kenyan coffee, so you can be, you know, an advocate or an ambassador for us in that way.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so like he said, I know a guy. All right, gang, I want to thank you all for coming. Let's see, I forgot what I got here. Make sure to like, follow us on social media, and share with what we're doing. Go out and have a cup of coffee and tell the local coffee shop, do you have Kenyan coffee here? And make sure they do, and we're looking for presenters. So if you want to present, please go to the 1 Million Cups website, sign up to present, and we'll get a notification and someone will be in touch with you and we can help you work through your presentation and then come up and do that. Okay? So that'll be great. We'll see you next week. That's 166 and a half hours, 9,990 minutes, or 599,400 seconds. Have a great week. Thank you.